Hello, so I'll be streaming for about an hour as usual. Now, just as like a safety type thing, in this stream I've got some Geiger counters running because we're going to be dealing with some radiation. So, as much as the stream's called Radium stream, I'll only get out the lead shielded box when people want to see it on the stream. And obviously not if people, right after I've showed it, ask for it again, just as that's a pretty sensible safety precaution. Because radium is pretty interesting stuff. So Alfie says hey twice. Sebastian says radium. Yep, I'm talking about radium. Which is apparently the most radioactive of all the normal elements, you know, other than ones that are actually made using fission. So yeah, I've got a Chinese Geiger counter up the top there. You can't see sitting on top of my PC, just powered by the PC's USB. And that's reading the background rate at an average of 0.26 microsieverts per hour. The mini monitor does it in counts per second, but right, okay, so there's the box, and I've got a bit of lead shielding. So yeah, that's the box. I put that on it so it looks appropriate. And if you see, look, without the lead shielding on it, it's obviously hiding background. So yeah, there's that. And yeah, what I do at the moment is have this wrapped around it. So that lowers stuff coming through by quite a lot, but doesn't totally get rid of it. 2 dials at the moment. So let me show you them. Hang on. Now, I don't think I've got a UV torch handy, sadly, so I can't show them glowing all that well. For obvious reasons, I won't open these. There's actually a radium watch in there as well. But yeah, here are the dials. So this one's got some paint chipping off of them. So there's one that's gallons and one that's 90 degrees. Both British World War II aircraft dials. So that's those. And yeah. Radium is very hot for what it is. The thing that is sort of, it's kind of scary with radium is as much as there's loads of beta coming off the front of these, there's loads of gamma coming off as well. Well, not loads and loads of gamma, but yeah. So to demonstrate this, I can actually show you the lead shielding, because it's kind of a myth where people think, you know, like lead totally stops radiation. What it does is it just kind of diminishes the amount coming through, so you need really, really thick lead to actually completely get rid of it. So there's that. It's obviously a lot more than the standard watch dial. So if I get the thing so you can actually see the mini monitor, I'll just kind of show you this. So if I just hold the tube sideways, only the gamma should be coming through. That's about 20 counts per second of gamma. Obviously more from the front section of it than the sides, but it does emit the gamma basically in every direction. Obviously if I put it frontally, you can see that there's a lot more radiation, so it's not just, you know, it's not just beta coming through there, that's gamma. I already said, Sebastian, these 2 dials and the radium watch. So yeah, if I just show you the lead shielding. So let's say I have the lead shielding now. I've actually ordered some more lead shielding to be safe. Then I put this here. See, lead, you need actually a decent amount of lead to totally stop gamma. Like, you're obviously cutting down on it quite a lot by having that lead there, because if I removed it, obviously the count's higher, but lead doesn't magically stop, you know, radiation from penetrating it. There you go. So there's that one. I'll just put the lead facing me while I'm doing the stream. There's the other one. A big safety thing with radium dials Yeah, he's not been on a while, Mike, has he? He said he was moving to America. The thing you have to be really careful of, obviously these are sealed, is that radium paint can chip off. So if you look in there, you can see at the bottom where there's some chipped paint. See those little bits there? That's one of the massive dangers for people that actually open these dials up and play with them. You know, with like people who do all these sort of watch frustrations, because if you inhale that or ingest it, one little bit like that would probably guaranteed to kill you of cancer. Yeah, that's the thing, is if you think, that's what I was thinking, Hype, if you had somebody sitting in a cockpit who did a lot of flight hours with nothing but those radium dials when they were brand new. I know radium's half-life is like 1,600, 1,800 years, isn't it? Something like that. But they'd still be more radioactive then than today, because it has obviously deteriorated slightly. But yeah, a full bloody cockpit of them, you must be getting loads of beta and gamma hitting you. But yeah, just to show you where that obviously paint has the radium in it. The if I do this so all the loose bits fall to the bottom, what I can do is it should give the highest reading in that section. I was saying that it actually gives the highest reading in the bits where there's the most paint in close proximity. But yeah, if I just take the shield off. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. The thing that is kind of scary with these is the fact a lot of it is gamma, you know, that you could have it like that. But yeah, so I've been getting quite into now buying radium stuff because it's fascinating. But yeah, if you're buying this sort of shit load of risks, I would definitely not recommend getting radium dials unless you have a Geiger counter to monitor how active they are. You know they're properly sealed and you've actually got, you know, lead shielding to put on the box. It depends in which country, Shackleton. A lot of countries kept using it to about the 60s. But yeah, World War II dials are pretty much really high in radium. I have got one of those radio thing, Shock PC, but I don't really use it. And as I said, I never bother with shit at the fan stuff anyway. But yeah, the thing is, like I said, I've got a Geiger counter in this room monitoring background radiation, and it's still 0.26 hourly average. You know, because if you take precautions, yep, I'll show you the one that came. Because like I said, we'll see if we can power this up, like you're saying, with a 12 volt. But this one isn't actually radium, because I thought it might have been. But yeah, it's this one's a US one from, is that 56? It says on there, like 1956, if it focuses. But this isn't actually a radium one. I don't think the webcam's going to focus, but it's 1956, I think it says on there. So yeah, let's see if we can power it, shall we? Did you say a 12 volt should work? If I can find where I've put my 12 volt, I'll do it. Although I think technically it needs 4 pins, doesn't it, rather than just 2. I can see what happens if we connect it to a battery. You have to ask Chris that, Week Texas. I have no idea other than eBay. So let me try and remember where I put my 12 volt. I think I put it in one of the boxes here, but I'm not going to take all this stuff off to get at it if it's, you know, buried, because that means, yeah, I'm not going to be able to get it. But yeah, let's see if I can just use a 9 volt to do anything with it. Now, where did I have a 12 volt handy? Sorry, 9 volt. I can just take one out of here. Right, so there's that. Now, I don't know if it will work directly putting the pins on there. Actually, no, I'm going to need to get the croc clips because it doesn't look like they're the right size. But yeah, for anybody wondering about radium in this one, just to show you. See, nothing coming off of that. It's pretty much just background level. So, yeah. There's that one. Let's get another croc clip cable. Right, let's see if a 9 volt does anything. Right, I'm glad you like me, but it is very creepy you having a name that includes my username, I'm not going to lie. So positive, if we can even get the crop clips on there, all right? Because it looks like it's going to be quite difficult. It's a positive. Let's get the negative on. Negative looks like it will be easier to do. I'll tell you, I'll put this one on the positive because it's not got the plastic on it. Just wedge it there like that and see if that works. This one on the negative. And then positive. Is the smaller one the positive on a 9V? I can never remember. Because most things obviously have 9V. Oh yeah, it is because it's got the little icon there. That's that. Oh, didn't want to sit on there, did it? Try again. Right, let's see if that's doing anything. Don't think it is. As I said, it's not a 12V anyway. But yeah, as I said, this isn't actually a Radium one, which makes it a lot safer for people who want to collect them, because obviously it's just a sort of generic 50s one, where they use some other kind of luminescent paint on it. But yeah, I don't know how you'd actually tell if this was powered up and working anyway. But turn and bank indicator for an aircraft, you know, so it would show you when it's powered up, how your plane's doing that. Do I know anything about electricity? It depends what you mean by do you know anything about electricity. You've asked me some quite weird questions, I'm not going to lie, Shock PC tonight, where it's, have you got this radio? Let's keep talking about a radio, even though it has nothing to do with the stream. Right, I'll have to try it with the 12V at some point hype, but it's a bit difficult to do in the stream, obviously get all that shit off there and then do it that way. But yeah, it was sold as one that didn't necessarily work. It was just sold as sort of a collector's piece. That's why that seller had those for like a quarter of the price and the other sellers had it. Right, we can see if gamma rays hit the webcam though. I don't know if that would work, because I have seen some videos of digital cameras where they start going grainy when these sort of dials are put in front of them. Or like, you know, in an X-ray chamber, but that will do anything there. Other than it trying to focus on them, it's not doing anything. Right, I'm going to give you a friendly warning now, right, Shock? You're literally treading the line where people sort of seem to ask to get blocked. Because it's where I've just sort of said to you, can you know, you stick to the topic of the stream, and then you're going, oh, I seem to upset you. Yeah, cool. I'll definitely try and power it up hype after the stream at some point. But yeah, I'll have to clear that box off to then get into the box to get the 12V, because I don't have anything that, you know. Yeah, I'm not going to buy a power supply specifically for feeding that, though, am I? That's the thing. If any of my batteries I've got, you know, would work it, I'll do it. But I'm not going to buy something specific for an old antique that might not work. Well, this one's an electric one, Shackleton. So it depends what sort of dial it is, isn't it? Because with these, I don't think there's even anything where these plug in by the look of it, unless it was there. I mean, obviously they would have had to have plugged in, but this one obviously does gallons, so the fuel tank one would be attached to the fuel tank somewhere. MiG-25 or a 15? Wow, I really like the MiG-25. It's classic in terms of what's a better plane, the MiG-15. In terms of, you know, what's cooler, probably the MiG-25. I haven't had to in ages, Erkin, because thankfully I don't work in a complete shithole anymore. So, you know, there's that. But, yeah, if you're in the right sort of places, yes. I don't know why I'm still holding on to these, because that's not necessarily a good idea, is it? Right, let's put these back in the box, at least for now, with the lead shielding. And I was also going to show you the thing the SOEX came with. I'm pretty sure it was that one with the U on the name. Because this was a tube, even though it's a bit beaten up, but it's got that sort of shorter design to it. And of course, the webcam isn't going to focus for no reason whatsoever. There we go. Okay. Right, so let me put this inside the actual thing. And let's see what sort of reading it gets with that in the actual box itself, sitting on top of the dials. It's probably going to be quite hot. No, it's still counting. At the moment, it's at 25 microsieverts an hour. 26 microsieverts an hour. 27. This is just this sitting on top of the dial. So this is my point of people, you know, need to shield this shit if they buy it. Don't put it, you know, like loads of them on your living room shelf or something. That's all right, Mike. But yeah, saying, I know this is a weird way of running the SOEX, but it's kind of interesting if you want to use it like a remote probe, actually. It is interesting to have the gamma energy that you can see in the searching mode. It's going to be hard to show on the camera, but if you kind of float this over the tube, the box, you can see directly when, you know, there's nothing shielding it. The actual rays kind of shooting up, which is kind of really fascinating. But, you know. I'll close the lid back down on there for now. Which particular one? The aircraft ones, William Green? If you mean those two, they were both off eBay. I think it was both for about 69 quid. But yeah, if you go on eBay and type in aircraft instruments, you can generally find loads on there. It's just obviously make sure you're aware if you're getting something that's got radium paint, the risks of it. Because a lot of people just seem to think, oh, I'll buy something with loads of radium in, you know, and then I can just stick them on my wall as like a display, and that's probably a very bad idea, actually. You know, especially in terms of how much beta radiation you can potentially get off of those. If anybody wants to actually see the amount of beta radiation coming off, I can actually probably demonstrate that. So if I get these and put them facing up, I'll put the SOEX of its tube laying across both of them, and then I'll tell you what the reading says. So just going into searching mode. And when it stabilizes at a count, I'll tell you what the reading is. Yeah, I filmed a video on them today, and I made sure I actually had the gamma shield closed for a lot of it. Because the problem is on YouTube is there's a lot of video. No, there's not loads of videos. There's a few videos that demonstrate, you know, how hot some radium items can be. But unfortunately, I don't think anybody's ever done one showing exclusively how much gamma could be coming off. So with a lot of the videos, they say, oh, it's really high in beta, but if you just, you know, put it in a steel box, it'll be okay. Well, not if you have loads of radium items together in a steel box, because the gamma is going to come straight through. Okay, it's at 192 microsieverts an hour at the moment. I'll let you know if that changes. Yeah, it's stabilizing about 191, but bear in mind that tube isn't entirely across the paint, so, you know, it might be higher, might be a bit lower, depending on where it is. But yeah, so if we now look up on a radiation calculator, and a site I like is this one. I've probably linked people to it before, but this is a good site if ever you want to know what something is in a radiation measurement you understand, or like compared to something else. So I said 191, didn't I? Let's just, it says 192 at the moment, so let's just do that. So 192 microsieverts convert me. That is 21.89 millirontgen. Hourly average background radiation, 834. So every hour, if you were right in front of those, would be 834 times the normal background amount. And yeah, I've seen some dials on YouTube videos hype that are really, really higher than that. There's one BioNerd has when she did a video. I think she'd taken it out of the case because, like I said, this is a very dodgy thing to do. So I don't really want to do it for the video, but let me just move this a second and then I'll sort of explain what I'm getting at. So if you have one that doesn't have much paint chipped off, what some people end up doing is taking the screws off and taking this faceplate off here. You know, so there's not even any plastic blocking any of it. Because some of the beta is stopped by that plastic or it loses energy passing it. And yeah, that is where it starts getting pretty insane in some of the videos I've seen. I don't know if you're on about me, Tina, but I don't have a deactivated shotgun. But yeah, so that's pretty crazy. With this one, I don't know if it's possible actually to use a screwdriver to turn the position the bit's sitting at, because that'd be interesting. I was in the Challenger tank, not me, because I don't really do videos on tanks. Yeah, exactly. I wasn't planning to, because the problem is, I've said, like with the other one, is because the radium paint flakes off. That's really scary idea of opening it, and then suddenly little flakes coming out, going on the floor. You don't know where they've gone, and then they're going to end up somewhere. But yeah, that's those. But yeah, some of the ones I've seen are like about a sievert an hour, if you're reading alpha, beta, and gamma off of them. All right, your boyfriend the hour's being a bit confused though. Oh yeah, of course there'll be a full video on that. I thought you meant the tank then. But yeah, as I've already said, what I'm doing is I did a quick video, and then the full video is going to be one where I've had it for a while, can film a few different things through it, and like explaining bits with it. Yeah, it was. Didn't you watch the stream yesterday, Iron Man? Some Wibble One stuff. Depends on what it is and how interesting it is. Right, I'm going to put this down because I don't actually like holding this in my hand because of how hot it is, but I keep forgetting because I'm in the habit of doing it. Let's see which dial's actually hotter. Let me put this across that dial fully now. Probably reading like that would be nice on it. 184, 182. I suppose what I could technically do is hold one dial above it like that. So if I have both dials looking at it, let's see how high the number goes. $189. Tell you what I can do. I'll put them on the floor and I'll put them facing each other. And hopefully that will give us a good reading. But it might be that it actually ends up being further away because it's quite hard to do that. Yeah. But yeah, it's very good, Iron Man. There's another video as well demonstrating a camera through it. I took it out last night and used it for a video, but that's not live yet because it's going to be edited into a longer video. There's no difference, but if you can get them at the same price, I think a black GP5 would take less UV damage than the grey coloured ones. Alright, Survive. Alright, let's see what the reading says now. 185, and that's pretty constant. But yeah, I imagine that can kind of get to a crazy level of reading if you had it, you know, perfectly sandwiched between the two. I've heard that. I've never found a difference when I've worn like the two like GP5Ms in either grey or black in the same sizes. But I don't know as well, because I don't know if people who have like certain types of latex allergy or whatever, if one's better for them and one isn't, kind of thing. Yeah, I don't think there's really a difference between the two, to be honest. Again, there might be some people who really know a lot about them and know that there is a slight improvement of one over the other, but I've never found really a difference. Oh, that's all right, William. I'm glad that helped, because, yeah, it seemed off to me, because if you read the DP66, you know, DP75 thing, like you'd read most other Geiger counters, it looks like it's a 5 times multiplication thing. But yeah, I'm pretty sure the number on the DP75's indicator is what you actually get if you, you know, if the needle goes all the way to the right. So when it's 5, it means it's 5 millirontgen or whatever on the far side of the thing. I've never really been doing model building, Alex, but it sounds cool if you're into it. I'm not really going to advise you to open a Soviet symbol. Not Soviet symbol, Soviet filter, because I've said there's loads of risks if you try and empty it and fuck it up. Okay, that's interesting. But yeah, I suppose it might be one of those things where it's slightly better from a production standpoint, but to a consumer, there's not a massive difference, especially if sellers charge more for the black ones anyway. So yeah, this is now picking up 179 millirontgen, not millirontgen, sorry, 179 microsievert an hour. But it's really going to depend, I think, with these on how they're positioned. Yeah, exactly. It seemed to be too sensitive on mine, William, compared to that. So let's just do a thing. So if I get one dial, because this will be easier to do with one dial. Right, so if I get the dial that doesn't have the chip paint, because that will be more accurate. If I get this, and I'm trying to think of an easy way of doing this, because obviously the problem is, due to the sensitivity of different Geigers, you're never going to get an accurate result that way. But if I just do this, I put that there looking at the probe, open this up, I'll tell you what reading it gives on there. So and we'll take it off circuit check to the actual thing. Right, we're off the scale on 0.5. Go to 5. Or 0 it so it starts doing it properly. I don't think that's facing it quite right, because otherwise it's not giving accurate reading. It might be some of the probe is more sensitive than gamma and other bits. It is. The probe is more sensitive near this section for some reason. But yeah, that's about 1 at the moment, 1.5. It's going to 2. What also interests me with these is how far the gamma actually comes off. In the sense of, you know, if you had one of these, you know, at what range? It actually becomes noticeable that it's above background. Probably about there. Obviously, I know. Ooh, shit. Shouldn't have done that, but it's fine. But yeah, the interesting thing with these is, obviously, yeah, they do go further than you think. I've heard that shock PC, and apparently it's not true, because somebody was really into German World War I masks, pointing out lots of German World War I soldiers had bigger moustaches, and the masks sealed around that part of the face, so it wouldn't make a difference. And isn't there pictures of Hitler in World War I with a bigger moustache anyway? It was like a fashion thing after the war. Right, well, I've already managed to break the CD one, so I need to repair it, but that was my own fault. But the Polish ones are better in terms of range. The problem with the American one is that one goes from 0.1 millirontgen, or like essentially just 0, to 50 millirontgen, which is a very small operational range for a Geiger counter. The Polish one, that one, for example, and the DP66 go from like 0 to 200 rontgen. and in the millirontgen scale as well. And the Russian ones, Soviet ones, are very good as well. Soviet ones are probably better in terms of being solid and being a bit more compact, but yeah, it depends what you've got access to at what price. I really do like the look of the Victorine ones, but yeah, they are kind of, if you're in America, it's probably easier to get spare parts. The issue I'm having now is I've finally got my thing to test some of the circuits on it to see which bit's blown. It's probably a capacitor. And then it's just going to be a case of finding the equivalent capacitor to swap it out with. But yeah, I mean, in any of those old tech things, I go for the one with the biggest range possible, because then you can make more use of it. Because the problem is with the civil defense one, of course, is the Victorine, like type style ones, is as soon as you've gone beyond 50 millirontgen, you have no idea what the reading is. Yeah. The thing is, if they're common there, Tanner, I might go for that just so you can swap out components easily. But the issue is, obviously, you need to make sure, you know, it's in the range you want to use it in. Because, for example, 50 millirontgen, I'll tell you what that is in, let me use the radiation thing. Right, so 50 millirontgen, that is, in sieverts and microsieverts, that is 438 microsieverts. So that's still pretty high, but the problem is it's not all that high for a Geiger counter, you know, because it essentially goes to half a sievert, sorry, half a millisievert, you know, which isn't all that impressive in terms of range. Yeah, the problem I had with my DP66 is actually the wires snapping in the bit. Obviously, I'm pointing at the DP75, but with the DP66, see that bit I'm pointing at where the wire comes out the case? Because that's often under tension, apparently the wires there get pretty brittle. So that's where mine had a malfunction. Apparently that is like not too uncommon. So yeah. But yeah, at some point I'll get a DP5V and see how much I like that. But other than the battery thing, you know, having to adapt the batteries for it, DP5s are kind of really nice. Yeah, tall Timmy, that's the thing. If ever you need to say, can I ask a question, just ask the question. You know, it's pointless to use a question to ask a question and then, you know, ask again, if that makes sense. Well, if you're breathing through the GP5 filter for a long term, yes, it would cause health issues if you're inhaling asbestos. Again, it's like that probability thing of all these. The more you use something dangerous, the greater the chances it might impact your health. If you breathe through a GP5 filter once, I really doubt it's going to harm you, but I wouldn't recommend you do it. You know, it's kind of the same thing with all these things like radiation exposure. Me in a video playing about with a radium dial, if it's all properly sealed off, isn't going to expose me to that much radiation. If I didn't shield them and just lined like a shelf with them, just, you know, aimed at my head, that would definitely fuck me up, yeah. But yeah, the mask itself wouldn't do you any harm. I mean, ideally wash the talc out of it, but yeah, I'll definitely have to get a DP5 at some point, because they are really fucking cool, aren't they? I mean, I know I've got one at the moment that Beastall's are lending to me to do videos with, but, you know, my own proper DP5 where I can do whatever I want with it. You know, and then I break it if I break it, my fault kind of thing. Right, if you want, Hype, I can flick the light off in a moment. Put a cover. I won't even have to flick the light on, will I, if I put a cover over it? I was going to say we can do that thing of seeing if the radium dials do anything with the night vision. Depends which signs you mean. Some of those posters are just literally printed off of Google. Well, not Google, because they don't let you open image in new tab anymore. There's like a copyright thing, but, you know, somewhere like DuckDuckGo, search the search the image in there, like Fallout Shelter. Open it in new tab, get a high-res one, print it out. Right, so this has got the little end cap on there. Let me just get another bit. Right, I definitely shouldn't be able to see through here now. So let's, as much as I'm going to absorb radiation to the face, this will be quite interesting. So let's get all that, get that there. Let's see if anything flashes on the screen. So did you say I should see white flashes hype if this works? So at the moment I can't see anything, it's just literally black. No, nothing there at the moment. Alright, so it has to be. The problem is, it's probably not going to focus at something that close. Cheers, Irish Workhorse. Tell you what I'll do. With this facing this, so it doesn't damage it, let me just, let's just try it with one thing on it, so it actually at least sees through there. I don't really like holding this up to my face for too long, though, to be honest. But now I can't see anything, really. It just looks essentially like nothing. But yeah, sort of an interesting thing, but I think I probably need something like cesium or cobalt to probably do a test like that accurately. I'll put that back in its thing so I don't damage it. Yeah, that's why if you buy a cesium test source, check source, it's sealed in plastic for regular people like me. But I don't think I'm going to end up getting mine by the sound of it, because the company never got back to me, which is quite frustrating. Because the thing is, just as a customer service perspective, if you try to order something like that, and they didn't want to sell it you as a civilian, all they literally have to do is say, like, sorry, we don't think you meet the eligibility to buy the item, our apologies or something. You know, it's just annoys me when you fill out an order form, put all the stuff in, and then they never get back to you. You know, with any company that annoys me, because I've had that before about like order inquiries for other products where, you know, you look at it and say, you know, would it be possible to ship this, or do you have them in stock? You know, no reply. Great. But, you know, as much as a proper cesium check source would be nice, you know, you can get a decent amount of gamma for check sources coming off of radium clocks and that. It's just, you know, I kind of like a calibrated check source for each element, so I know roughly, you know, 1 centimeter away from the item what the reading should roughly be for zeroing Geigers and checking the accuracy of them. But you know, UK government, I suppose if you know already what something gives off via another Geiger counter that's accurate, you can use that to judge it. That's cool, Slingshot. I won't be on to watch it though, because I'm going off about 9 as soon as this stream finishes. But good, have fun on your stream. Otherwise, I'd watch it. But yeah, I'm literally off as soon as the stream ends. Yeah, so radium is what's fun. To give you some idea on the reactivity difference, let me get the old radium watch out with the radium dial. I'm just checking which bag it's in. It's not that one. Because if you haven't noticed, what I've done with a lot of my items now is put them in bags like this, or Ziploc bags or whatever, so it's less dangerous to touch them. So yeah, here we go. So let's give you an example of how much hotter in general, because sometimes you'll find like a watch that seems to break the rules. Let's figure out how much hotter it is having a aircraft dial than one of these. So there's this one. Let's just put on the top of the probe like that. So I guess we're about 1 count per second on there, if that. I'll try it just the other way around to see if it makes much of a difference. But obviously the steel case back, I assume, is stopping some of the gamma getting through from the radium. But yeah, that way up, with the glass literally touching the tube, it's about 1 count per second, I'd imagine. Half a count per second. So yeah, as much as these can be pretty radioactive, especially if you know, they're literally going straight into the, you know, end of a probe, a little radium watch is nowhere near as hot as a radium plane dial, for example. So let's do this bad boy. Essentially, that's all gamma. So yeah, like Hype was saying earlier, if you're in your cockpit full of these dials, wouldn't be very healthy, would it? Especially if you had like 30 instruments like this. And then I suppose if you peered directly into one, it would do this. So yeah, not the healthiest thing in the world, really. Right, did I put the Radium watch back in its box? Yes, I did. Right, put that in there, even though that's a lot less scary. And there's that one. Pop that in. There's that one. Pop these other bits in and seal the box shut. Just get this lid tight for safety reasons. There we go. Close that up again. And now we're as protected as we can be, but as I've said, I've actually if it was the one I've just put away, I won't get it back out now. I think it was like 90 or something. I think it was one somebody estimated was a bomber one, but again, I'll look into it. Actually, I'll tell you what I can do. Let me just open the video up I did on it earlier, and I can just literally read it off the video for you. Or I can look at the eBay listing I bought it from. Actually, that will do it. That's more easy because I don't have to open Sony Vegas. That might not lagging the PC. Right, purchase history. And it is... Where is he? I can't spot him now. Definitely on it. There they are. Okay, it goes to... Oh, I think that's 600 by the look of it. No, 500. I think 500. It goes 0, 20, 50, 100, 200, 300, 400. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's 500 it goes up to. Yeah, so, yeah, my bad, 500 gallons when I've actually looked at it. Oh, yeah, it says capacity 580 gals. Yeah, on the middle bit of the dial. Yeah, gallons. Capacity 580 gals. Yeah, so 580 total. So yeah, 580. I suppose you could probably look up how much fuel was in a whatever. And the other one is the degrees indicator. That's the one that's slightly less hot because it's obviously got less writing essentially on it. They've painted. Yeah, Geiger counters are really cool. You know, but the thing is, it depends what you want them for. Like, I don't, as I said, have planned for any sort of shit hits the fan doomsday event with them. I just find it cool hearing them tick when you put them near radioactive samples, and you can check, you know, what background levels are like. That's what I think Geiger counters for most people. They get a lot more fun out of them than ion chambers. Don't say, "Do I mind?" If you ask me a question, just ask the question. As in 40mm NATO. It's going to depend really on the market you can buy it from. I mean, if you can, for around the $30, $40 mark, get a Chinese MF11A or whatever they're called, the FMJ05 sort of export version, they're very good. Yeah, I think the seller said they thought it might have been something like a Halifax, but they didn't know. But again, I just wanted it for the radium content, you know, more than anything else. Yeah, what voltage does it say on this thing? 24 volt DC. You can actually buy 24 volt batteries, can't you? Because I don't have any. I only got a 12 volt, but yeah, you can clip two 12 volts together to make a 24 volt, or you can get 24 volt style car battery. Very strange question, Ramonas. Because there obviously are times on here where I'm smiling. Look, I'm fucking doing it now, but it's... Very strange question. Oh dear. Yeah, if I get round to watching it at my house, I'll watch it. But yeah, I'm glad you like the S10. It's a nice mask, isn't it? That says GFN 52 on this one. What, you didn't see the graphite spider because it wasn't there? Cool. If you have a Geiger counter, you can test it, Martin. I'm a broken old Radium alarm clock coming. Because the nice thing is, if you're getting Radium things as check sources, quite often if they're broken clocks, people sell them really cheap just as a spares and repairs. Well, I certainly wouldn't dismantle a Radium clock for parts, because the danger of they are pretty, cheap to buy if you just want them as check sources. Yeah, Chernobyl was very, very good. Right, chat's gone all quiet now. Fiestaware is very hot. Let me demonstrate it. So yeah, Fiestaware is fine as a check source. Assuming you get the radioactive type, obviously the non-radioactive Fiestaware is kind of useless for that. Hence why I bought a big Fiestaware jug the other day, found out it was a post like 1930s one or whatever, and then gave it as a Christmas present. Because most people would like the non-radioactive ones, only the other way around. But yeah, in terms of it's all in the box of everything else. So let's see how conveniently low down it is. Hang on. And I'll just show hype the dial when I'm at it, seeing as I'm opening the box up again. Wait, which one is it? Is it this one? Yeah, this is the one. So yeah, hype, if you're watching, it goes to 580 gauss capacity. It says 500 right at the bottom, but it says 580 gauss there if it wants to focus. Come on. There we go. Yeah, so 580 gauss, as in 580 gallons. Oh, yeah, it actually has .80, doesn't it, just before the 0. So, yeah, 580 gallon fuel tank indicator, this one. So, yeah, let me pop that back in its box. Make sure they're facing the side I have shielded. And then, yeah, I was going to demonstrate the Fiestaware for you, wasn't I? So I've got that in there somewhere. Hang on, and I'll find it. There he is. Right, let me pop this back down there. Right, so Fiestaware. Yeah, cool. Definitely do a video on that, Chris. I'm very interested in that. So Fiestaware. If you want to see how high Fiestaware goes, just with beta and gamma. About 100 counts per second. I know when somebody's tested them on these before, a big Fiestaware plate nearly maxed out the meter, so it got something like 47 or 48 millirontgen per hour. But yeah, I think out of all the things I have, the hottest thing is probably those aircraft dials now, other than the Strontium 90, but that's like a proper check source, not something that happens to be radioactive just for the sake of the fact it's radioactive. How radioactive is this in terms of gamma? A few counts per second, not all that much. Uranium powder. This is quite interesting. Again, it's not all that high in gamma. It's mostly sort of beta and alpha. But Right, they go back in the box. These go back in the box. Right. But yeah, the point is with all these sort of things is, you know, they're different levels of radioactivity. And yeah, if you get Fiestaware, I'd say make sure it's marked radioactive red. Because if you just look for the orangey red looking Fiestaware, some of it will be the post-radioactive period. And also some Fiestaware of various colours even during the radioactive period. Like the red was the hottest one, the red-orange. The things like the yellow ones and I think the blue ones, although they had some uranium oxide in the paint, it was pretty low. So, you know, the Geiger will notice they're there, but it won't be a very active check source. I'll link you to a seller that sounds like the type I got. Just a second, I'll use Weapon Collector's link to do it. So he gets a commission, which won't cost you anything if you buy it. If I type in Geiger check source, I should be able to find them for you. Because generally the seller has quite a lot. Unless they sold out. Let me just search radioactive pottery. Sometimes they come up under that. Oh, sadly, I don't think there's actually that seller's got them anymore. I don't know if they've either sold out or they've not got a thing. Let me check, because I think I can find their eBay store. Let me just type in uranium glass. Let me have a look. Because they normally have quite a few things with Fiestaware on. Although it's a bit pricey buying it like that. But in the UK, it's harder to find Fiestaware anyway. So they just sell you like some Fiestaware in a bag. Like, you know, broken bits of one. I mean, I can't spot any at the moment. I hope the seller's still around, because they are a pretty cool seller. Right, I found their account, so now let me see if they've still got any Fiestaware on here. I'll link you if I find any, but I don't think they have. Maybe they just had so much broken Fiestaware, and once they sold all of that, they didn't get any more. No, annoyingly, no Fiestaware on there. Right, how I store the radioactive things. Each item is bagged up if it's not in a solid container on its own. That way, you know, you're not going to get the dust on your hands or whatever if you handle it, because that's like a big danger, bigger than, you know, whatever comes off of the source itself. They're then inside a metal ammo tin, which is aluminium, and they've then got lead shielding around it. See? I've actually got more lead shielding on order as well to make that even safer. But, you know, with a Geiger counter, I can literally measure that if you know, are so far back from the box of the lead shielding, the counts get a lot lower. How would I get hold of pre-nuclear steel then? How's that done then, Shackleton? Is it stuff before the 40s or whatever? Because I've heard of people saying pre-nuclear stuff, but, you know. And what did you mean, like, to show how much it blocks gamma rays coming through or what? But yeah, if you buy radium stuff, I mean, if it's like a tiny pocket watch with radium on, and it's in its case, I wouldn't worry too much. But yeah, if you ended up buying like big radium aircraft dials because of how much radium paint they put on them, I'd probably advise, yeah, lead shielding them in an ammo box or similar. Just because you end up needing a bit more protection than I think most people think when it comes to stopping. Because the thing is, if it's, let's say you had like a detached house and you stored it in your garage or something, you know, garage, and it was in a box lined there, you know, fairly far away, it would probably be anyway. The point when the, you know, gamma gets to the distance of another living person, it's probably lost so much energy, it's negligible at that point. But the problem is, of course, if you put them like in your bedroom or something, and you don't take into precaution like a lot of people don't, that's when it gets really dangerous. Because obviously, the more and more things like this you get in a tighter space, the more you're constantly being exposed. No, I didn't know that survived, but I know that some of them obviously had the nuclear missiles on the bombers, so the bomber would fly to a holding range, shoot the missile to extend the range that they could deliver at. That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, that's good if that works for Trouble Man. But again, it depends on how you do it, because I've seen some videos where somebody looks like they've got a really good steel, thing, but they're still getting like 10 times, from about a foot away from the check source inside this big thing. They're still getting loads of readings. So as long as your Geiger works right, and it's telling you nothing above background, then that's fine. Alpha radiation is obviously stopped by the suit. Beta radiation is normally lowered by the suit to a degree, not like 100%. Gamma it will do nothing to. Same with X-rays. Basically, the point of an NBC suit is to easily decontaminate it. It's not so you can actually well, luckily you didn't get nukes, and the Nazis weren't even close to developing nukes. Yeah, I've watched anti-proton videos. There's Bio Nerd, isn't there? I can't remember where she's from, but she has loads of radioactive stuff. There's quite a few channels that are like just really into radioactive items. Yep, the British L1A1 SLR variant of the FN-FAU, it's deactivated, but it's an original rifle, just completely gutted of its parts, basically. I've never had a problem with Denix replicas. I mean, I did a video on it, literally saying I've not had a problem with them if you know what you're buying, for like the £60 mark for pistols. But you always get people come on that video going like, oh, Denix replicas are really, really shit. Why don't you buy a real gun? Well, if you're in the UK, good luck buying a real gun, Denix replicas are kind of nice for people in countries where they're limited and, the firearms laws are really restrictive and they can have that or have nothing, really. Yeah, that's the problem, Trouble Man. Basically, with strong gamma is how hard it is to shield. If you look at how thick the lead is on like really strong gamma sources where they have it in like hospitals, it's literally like that thick lead. It's not like a lead panel like most people think. It is literally probably the PDFD, the one that's literally directly above my head. That one. Soviet PDFD respirator. There's also the GP5s and lots of Chernobyl pictures. I'd say India and Pakistan probably is the most likely place for an outbreak of nuclear war, because there's two nuclear powers which hate each other, that aren't superpowers, essentially. Don't really know on the stereotypes, Just Ink. Any idea what the types of blocks are, like the source? Like strontium-90, cesium-137, cobalt-60, anything like that? I think so, but the problem is because our news media is always so anti-Iran, you can never tell how much of it is true and how much is made up. Like I totally accept that Iran probably does some dodgy shit, but I don't trust everything our government and our government-funded media say in the UK about it. So and I tend to only read the news if there's a story I'm really interested in, rather than just looking at all the depressing things happening in the modern world. Tell you what then, Just Ink. The British stereotype I like is in the old Hollywood films, the British bad guy. I like that. The British stereotype I don't like is that everybody's posh, because we're not. North Korea probably has a couple of nukes, but not many. The problem is obviously I guess they don't have much uranium enrichment or whatever going on. So they can probably build one or two every now and then, but they can't, build very many. I mean, if they had a decent quantity of nukes, it might be worrying, but, I think if they've got like 3 or 4, there's not much of a worry. I mean, if you've got the check source, you can test that pretty easily, Mr. Ginger. If you put paper in front of it, if let's assume that you've got a Geiger counter with an alpha mica window and it's facing one way. If you put paper in front of it and the majority of the reading stops, then nearly all of it's alpha. Because bear in mind, some sources give out more than one thing as well. They're not all like restricted only to alpha, beta, or gamma. Some are, all three. With beta, if like you put some aluminium in front of it, or a thin bit of steel and it totally stops the readings, then it's probably beta. If you put those things in front of it and you're still getting readings, it's most likely gamma, because of how much you have to physically put between gamma and its source to stop it. Yeah. I think I actually read a thing, Mike, about that, though, where supposedly we have one of the highest, like, good dental records now in Europe. Obviously, it was bad at one point. But that's where it was pretty much bad everywhere. It's probably just one of those things that came a long way very quickly, so there's a stereotype about it, but it's probably just really not true. I mean, I've got no fillings, and I've got my full set of adult teeth, so I guess I'm pretty lucky there, and they don't look all that crooked to me. So, you know, when I had my dental x-ray on Monday, the dentist said, oh, you know, there's no rotting, you know, or decay there, so you're getting away with cleaning your teeth. Guess they're never happy, are they, the dentists, when they can't get more money out of you to do something, but yeah. It depends if you mean straight up Geiger counters or things like that. Oh, I need to go off, so I'll just count them up for you and then I'm off. Right. DP75, that's 1. CDV 700, that's 2. The SOXO1M, that's 3. The Chinese one, I keep forgetting the model name of, that's 4. The ionization chamber unit, that's 5. Is that all of them? That's all of the ones I think I've got at the moment. Oh, and the Polish RS70 radiation alarm. That's another ion chamber. It's like 5 or 6, but I've got a few things being sent to me at the moment. Right, thanks everybody. I need to be off. Have a good evening, everybody. Good night.